ain't no rainbow, no rainbow. It's gone, overcast by your shadows as our worlds move on.
Welcome to Book Time with Ryan. I am Ryan, and today I'll be talking about Sweet Tooth. See the inspiration for my thumbnail? This is the Sweet Tooth Compendium. That's a cool word. By Jeff Lemire. And also, so that's a compendium. That's, I don't know how many years worth of comics. Also, Sweet Tooth, The Return. I'll talk about both. Also by Jeff Lemire. With Jose Villarrubia. This is, it says on both of them, a Netflix whatever. Original series. And that's how I came to Sweet Tooth. Because I was hanging out one day and I was like, Sweet Tooth. What's that about? There's a couple shows on Netflix like that. The other one's Umbrella Academy. Someday I'll watch that too. But I finally did Sweet Tooth. I didn't really know what to expect. I knew that he had horns. Antlers. My bad. But that's really all I knew. So I started watching the show. I think it's 3 seasons right now. I don't know if it's over yet because I'm on season 2. I'm probably towards the end of season 2, but I'm on season 2, so I don't know where it is. Just from watching a season and maybe a season and a half of Sweet Tooth and reading all of Sweet Tooth, they're pretty different. But I'm not going to do that in this video. I'm probably going to have a separate video once I've finished the Sweet Tooth series on Netflix. I'm going to try to avoid really differentiating between the comic book and the show because they're so different that I want to do that in the future. But I'll explain what happens in this. There's going to be spoilers. There's a lot going on here. I keep saying it's a lot different than the show. It is. And now I really want to say why. I'm not going to. I got to control myself. Okay? What happens? When was this written? This started in 2008. 2008 through 2013, I think. And then it looks like it was compiled in 2021. I got this for my birthday. I turned 41 recently. So I asked for this. My wife got it for me. I'd already read book 1. And this is 3 books in one. So, this gives you just an idea of what the art is. I like the art. You can't really see a lot here, but there's Sweet Tooth. And there's the big man. He's a hockey player. Here's what happens. People get sick. There's something called the sick. And something like 98% of the population dies on Earth. While the sick is spreading, people start having babies with animal characteristics. Like Sweet Tooth has antlers. There's also a girl, Wendy. Wendy has a little pig nose. Where is Wendy's pig nose? These are like dog boys. And so there's a bunch of different kinds of animals that pop up. They are mistreated. Like here are some of those they call them hybrids, animal hybrids in cages. We start the comic books, in a park, I believe in Nebraska. And we have Sweet Tooth. Gus is his real name, Gus, and Gus's dad. And something's happened. They're inside this park, like a state park, inside a fence, and they're living on their own. Gus's dad is very religious. He is reading from the Bible and writing stuff down that's fairly religious, and basically tells Gus never leave the fence line This is where it's safe. There's fire everywhere else. There's evil everywhere else. Gus, stay inside. But his dad gets this sick eventually and dies. And Gus ventures out of the park. He found some candy, and then some people were trying to kill him. And this guy named Jeopard, big man, he kills those guys that were going after him, and he basically takes him under his wing and looks out for him. What he's really doing is taking him to this kind of farm area, which is using the hybrids to experiment on so they can look for a cure to the sick. Because really, some people think like, oh, I must be resistant or something to the sick, but really everyone gets sick and dies at some point. Some just die later. So Jeopard drops off our boy Gus and then heads out. It turns out Jeopard had a wife, I guess it was a wife, and she was pregnant, and they couldn't find the baby, and he blames himself for that, and eventually his wife and the baby disappear. Like they were picked up by this group called the First Men, and probably killed. He was told they were killed. And he starts having these dreams, and he's like, I shouldn't have done that to Gus, and he wants to go back and save Gus. So he does. He goes back and assaults the camp. Gus gets out with some of the other kids, and then they're traveling. They're trying to figure out where Gus came from. One of the people that joins them is this doctor, Singh, who is not very likable and has been experimenting on these kids, looking for a cure, but he doesn't feel that bad about killing and then dissecting kids. They start having these, not adventures. Yeah, I guess they're kind of adventures, but they're going places. They're trying to figure out where Gus came from. Gus doesn't have a belly button, so he wasn't born. So what happened? They figure out there's something that happened in Alaska, and they need to go there to figure out where Gus is from. There's all this religious kind of undertone. The Singh thinks that Gus is kind of like a prophet or the second coming, and he needs to be there to help. And there are things that happen along the way. They run into this really bad guy at a dam, and he's a liar. Haggerty is his name, but he tries to kill them, and he's not a good guy at all in any way, but he lies. They think he's just this old feeble man, and he's not. He's bad. So they get to Alaska, and this guy is still coming after them, Abbott, from that first group. Abbott's looking for Gus, and he's looking for Jeopard, and follows them to Alaska. We do get these look-backs from the 1800s where somebody was married, I think his name's Simpson, and he joins this missionary group, and they go to Alaska to preach to Inuits, and disappears, and then his future brother-in-law sets out to look for him. What they basically figure out is the sick came from these ancient gods that lived in a tomb, or were laid to rest in a tomb in Alaska. And that tomb was disturbed by Simpson, and by disturbing it, Simpson let out the sick. He also impregnated one of the Inuits, his wife there, who had a baby that looked like Gus, although hundreds of years before. And they kill that baby by throwing it down. Once they realize everyone's getting sick, they throw that baby down into the tomb. It dies, and the sick eventually ends with the people that got it there. So it doesn't spread, but I guess they're laid to rest again. What we find out is years later, a group found the layer and built a base on top of it, and was trying to figure out, what what this site was, and not only developed Gus, but also unleashed the sick again, and that is what has spread and killed off humans, most humans, almost all. So, so there, like that. That's it. Jeopard dies in the end, and Gus, we get to see some looks into the future, and it turns out these hybrids eventually kind of take over the world, want to live in peace. There's still roving groups of humans that are slowly dying out because when they try to reproduce, they're having hybrids, I guess. So they kind of have to defend themselves here and there, but we know that they've inherited the earth now, and that humans have died out because humans were mistreating the earth. And that's kind of where we leave off with the 40 issues from the compendium. This book, The Return, came out in 2021. Oh, so it came out. They must have just timed that right. Those smart people. This was put together in 2021, compiled in 2021. This came out in 2021. This compiles 6 issues, and this is, I forget how many years, but maybe 300 years later. Boom. They tell you. That's nice of them. 300 years really after our Sweet Tooth story ended. So we're well beyond the Gus that we know. And we are now dealing with a Gus that has memories from the past, but he's like underground, and there's this person called the Father, and he needs to obey the Father, and he has these dreams where he runs into himself or an old version of him, maybe the Gus that we're used to, and he meets other humans, or he meets some humans that are also living underground. This elephant dude is pretty cool. What we find out is that, yes, the hybrids are on the surface. They've taken over. We don't actually see that yet, but we know that that's probably what's happening. Humans were driven underground, at least some of them were. And the ones that are underground they're operating in this system where the leader is called the Father. It's pretty religious too. What it is they discovered what was left in Alaska, and they're trying to develop their own walking plague monster. Basically, the way that Gus took the plague with him, even though he didn't know it, he didn't mean for it to happen or anything. The fact that he was basically seeded with the plague, the sickness. This time around, humans are trying to give him a virus that will affect hybrids, and they want to send him to the surface to join hybrids, and in the process spread his virus and wipe out hybrids so humans can go to the surface again. It's almost like a cycle. It's like a full cycle that we've had humans that were killed off by a virus. Now maybe hybrids will be killed off by a virus. We don't know. It's 6 issues, and it really ends with them about to go to the surface. And that's where it's left. I liked it. I felt like Sweet Tooth is kind of not that educated. He's kind of educated, but he kind of feels kind of like a hick-ish, the way he talks. His father seems very religious. A lot of the characters are not likable. A lot of the situations are dark that he finds himself in, or the people he's with find themselves in. There's a little more like fantasy mysticism involved with this take. This is me almost saying compared to the Netflix series, but I'll do that in a different video. But I liked it. It was fun to read. You were kind of like, what's going to happen? We miss a lot of the descent. It's just kind of like we end up, people are sick. you see little stories here and there where people are thinking about where they were when they contracted the virus or whatever. This one, it's almost like the reverse. Not as well developed. This has pretty good rankings. This one is a little bit lower on Goodreads. I don't know. I don't know why. I mean, 40 issues. It's more developed. It's more fleshed out than 6 issues where like you want to like him as Gus, but he's not Gus. He's somebody else. This is 300 years later. But this leaves off in a way that you could see more books coming. So I don't know if that's the plan or what's up. I don't know. I usually read either the compendiums or the omnibus books or the paperbacks or hardback trades instead of individual comics. So maybe there's more coming. I just don't know. But I liked it. I liked the comic book version of it. And it's a different feel. So you could watch the show and still get a lot out of... I think you could watch the show, at least where I am in it, and it wouldn't change much for the book for you. Like you could still read the book and be like, this is very different. So that's good, I guess, right? Because you can do both, and they're different experiences. But I will get into those different experiences in a future video when I do a comparison of the book to the TV series. I've done that once before with Shogun. Check that out. And I plan to do that with this. I have to watch the rest of season 2 and then see if there's anything after season 3. I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So thanks for being here today. If I had planned this better, I would have antlers for this video. And if there's a good time to find antlers for your head, it is the Christmas season. But I didn't. I thought we may have had some, but I don't know. So I just didn't do it. Anyway, thanks for being here today. I'll talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye.
On the way, I could hear you call my name, held the song. I am lost. I am lost.